Dawson's Rambles.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Writer here with another Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always video. So, if the timeline's going correctly, because you can see I'm still wearing the same clothes, I'm uploading this after I made my video breaking down the trailer, going up the day after it. So the trailer came out, I did a breakdown. The video went a little long, so I didn't want to talk about everything. But in this video, I wanted to talk about some questions that I think need to be answered in this special in regards to various things about Power Rangers lore and story. And I say need because there is sometimes some entitlement where fans are like, they have to answer this or that. But I'm just saying these are certain questions I think are going to be raised. Some of them I think more so do need to be addressed in terms of the plot flowing and connectivity, and some are just kind of more stuff that would be neat to answer. Like the ones that more so need to be answered are ones where they're addressing a story in regards to the larger story, and it would just seem awkward if they don't, and it would show that they're putting more care into paying attention to the overall story. So I got a loose list over here. So this also is going to tie into a separate video I already made that will be coming out this week, but how are the powers back? Obviously, we've seen the powers back multiple different times, whether it was Super Mega Force or Jason coming back or Adam coming back, which was explained as a Sentinel Knight. This doesn't necessarily need to be answered because they've already kind of accepted as being back, but this is a question that they could maybe possibly address, especially since we see that the other three are going to be turned into figures, and so that's why we have Rocky and Kat coming in. I do kind of want them to address, like, well, if they got shrunk and they're clearly in their Ranger forms, likely because, they didn't want to make little human forms, but if they're going to have that, how did they get coins then after that? After they're shrunk, assuming the Rangers had their coins when they were shrunk. Well, I'm hoping there's an explanation of, like, how do they have duplicate coins now, since obviously Kat's using the original coin and not the crane. This is more nitty-gritty stuff that I'm sure they won't address, but I would just personally be curious about on a nerdy level. Is like, I'm curious if like Adam ever at one point gave Zach his Morpher back, because obviously we saw that Adam was holding on to the original Morpher for a really long time, and I'm going to presume the broken one we saw in space was what was revived by Sentinel Knight. But then obviously last time we technically saw them was in Super Mega Force, and you got mmpr Black and Zeo Ranger 4 there at the same time, so you could assume that that was Zach and Zeo Ranger 4 was Adam. I mean, I don't think they're going to address this because it's kind of already had them show up in a way. But I would just be curious about that. And I think it would be kind of a neat idea that, like, maybe when Adam took over at SPD or whatever, SPA, that he gave the Morpher back to Zach, or that, like, at the beginning of this mission he gives it to him. I don't know. That's stuff they don't need to explain. Like, I'm just saying that would be something I just happen to think of. Like, if they don't explain it, it's like, whatevs. Also, something I don't know if they'll necessarily explain fully, but it would be cool to get a throwaway line just for the lore about, like, how and why the command center was revived and Alpha's back. Like, oh, I came back years ago to create this Ranger network, because obviously we see the Bandora protocol thing. I think that's a cool lore beat. I would love to. That's one thing I'm really excited about for this, is I think it has the opportunity to expand lore. Is like, whenever the Rangers return for various team-ups, there's often like offhand comments that make you feel like they're doing adventures that we're not seeing off screen, and I think this is kind of be a really cool lore beat for that, of like, hey, there's this Ranger network created, and I'd love to learn a little bit more about that. Like, maybe Alpha came back and they all established this command center that creates this Ranger network. I think there would be some cool stuff there that would be neat to explain in this. Let's see what else we got over here. I thought just more details about SPA. Obviously we're according to some of the leaks or plots or whatever plot leaks, it's like an academy, basically a training facility. So it's probably going to be Space Patrol Academy or Space Patrol Alpha that's an academy or something like that. But just any details about that, how it relates to SPD, the series, the organization, the lore, Adam and Aisha, how they're involved would be appreciated, and I think would be needing to explain. They're probably not going to want to confuse the audience too much, but I would love something that gives us more concrete answers on Aisha, because like the way she left was a little bit weird. I don't think that her time as a Ranger was erased or that she forgot it because they said goodbye to her and stuff, but it was really weird and timey-wimey, and anything super simple that would give us a little bit more clarification and closure on that would be pretty cool. Also, in regards to Min, like, who's Trini's dad? Is it also Megumi's dad? Because I want to know who that was. Who was Megumi's dad? That's not a real inquiry though. Obviously, how was Rita created? I've done a couple theories on it. There's been a couple rumors out there that Zed might be involved with Scrozzle. I want to know, like, not only like how was she created, but like what version of her is this? Is it just like a robot copy, like Picard? Or is it, like her evil essence that was transferred into this? She says that she has a new body, so that implies that, like, she lost her body. So that makes me think that, like, the evil part of her gets resurrected, and, Mystic Mother is still out there. Obviously, another one, how are the Zords back? We see the OG Zord lineup there, because that was a big deal. It wasn't kind of like one of those things where they never really explained why they stopped using the Zeo powers and like exactly what the fate of, I think, Ninjor and like the Ninja Zords and Dragon Zord 2, I think, is still technically out there. So there's kind of stuff that's like left up in the air where you can like make use of it or whatever. But that was a big storyline in the show, that the original Zords were destroyed and why we're using the Thunder Zords. So I'm going to probably just be like, we created new Zords. I don't need like a big like 10-minute lore beat. But, I hope that's in there, and there may be a cool reason behind it, or maybe it's like called Megazord 2.0, and that's why they look like the Zap collection. One big one, sort of, which I think needs to be addressed is how can Billy morph? Because that was also a big deal in the show, because he was going to take up the Gold Ranger mantle, and then they found out that when he got knocked into the command center consoles, he can't connect to the grid anymore, and that was kind of a big deal. That was something that always could be easily fixed if they ever wanted to bring him back for anything. Obviously, again, mmpr Blue was in Legendary Battle, but I feel like that's something that should be addressed, just for a cool character beat as well. Obviously, he's not on Aquatar either. I'm going to assume that they, are just going to say, like, I moved back to Earth. That's no big deal. So that's something probably that's going to be addressed. But I think more so, because again, kind of like with the Zords, that was kind of an important storyline. I feel like that needs to be addressed. Again, I already mentioned Zed in regards to Rita, and like, could he be involved in resurrecting her? This doesn't need to happen. Again, I just say need because like none of this necessarily needs to be in there. But I feel like it would be weird to not mention Zed. Like, it's, again, if Dino Fury didn't exist, I mean, not Dino, but I mean, if Zed was not back in Dino Fury Cosmic Fury and Zed wasn't in this, I would just be like, yeah, they're just focusing on Rita and Zed's not involved in this whatsoever. But the fact that he's back at the same time this is happening, I don't know if he'll make an appearance at all, but like they have to mention it, right? Speaking of, that leads me into my last point, which is Cosmic Fury connection. Like, I've said this before, and there's rumors about various versions of connection. Those one rumors said it leads right into it because Billy's going to be in it, and they're going to tee that up. And I don't think it's going to be in a way that's like intrusive. But I think that it would be cool to have some sort of connection there, just to maybe inspire the handful of people that are checking this out for nostalgia to maybe check out Cosmic Fury because it's an anniversary season. But those are the main ones that I can think of for this video. I'm sure there's all kinds of other ones. I tried not to go too crazy with stuff, because you could think of all kinds of other stuff, like why aren't other Rangers going to be there? I mean, obviously, they're getting turned into, figures, but I'm going to presume not every single Ranger besides these 5 are getting turned into figures, but I tried to just keep it within the scope of mmpr. Obviously, there's other little questions like, Cat's obviously given the pink coin to use after Kimberly is shrunk, but people are going to think, why aren't you using the turbo powers, but you just recently appeared with, and stuff like that. I mean, that obviously just comes down to it's an anniversary special. It'll be weird for them to be like, MMPR returns, and it's like the 5 MMPR Rangers and the pink Turbo Ranger. Like, a lot of this stuff is stuff that doesn't even need to be addressed, but just as like a lore junkie and stuff, I like to know this stuff from mythology about like what happened to the powers, who gave what powers to who. I'm still curious like what the state of the Zeo powers is, of all that type of stuff. But that's just kind of nerdy stuff that doesn't necessarily need to be in there. It's not going to necessarily enhance the overall quality. It'll enhance the overall lore. But yeah. What are some things that you want to see addressed for this special in regards to questions about the lore and the story? What are some things you think need to be addressed to keep the flow and everything tight? That sounded weird. Why did I put it like that? But like, to keep the story cohesive. There we go. Let's say it less weird, Dawson. And what are some things you maybe think that don't need to be addressed but would be kind of cool? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.